Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal Fresh from Fresh for Life, and today I'm going to be interviewing Sarah Hauch about some sacred geometry stuff. It's pretty exciting for me because I love sacred geometry, and so does Sarah. So, welcome to the show, Sarah. And I would just like to ask you a little bit about the sacred geometry classes in the mystery school. And well, I guess we have a sacred geometry academy now, and some of the classes that you will be coming to Calgary to teach this year.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me on. Hello, everyone who's watching. Sacred geometry has always been something that um, has really grabbed my interest and attention. And I think the reason for me is because of how much it changes me. So I was really intrigued with my first sacred geometry class, and then the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and the fifth. And every time I took a sacred geometry class, I noticed how much I changed afterwards. Fast forward to the mystery school, I finally became a teacher and I started to teach the class. And when you teach these classes, you really get to see the back end magic and you get to see how much your clients also change. And I started to ask more questions to my teachers and learn more about sacred geometry. And I'm really happy to bring it to everyone. Now, sacred geometry is the basis for everything. So when you start studying sacred geometry, you can't study it all at once. You have to study it in pieces. Sacred geometry, as taught by the mystery school, was a tool that humans brought with them to the physical world to remember who they are as a spiritual being. We lived in nature. We were always surrounded by sacred geometry when we lived outside and we lived more closely to nature. Nowadays, we live in boxes. We live at where we've come past the industrial revolution, and so we live in big buildings, we live in boxes, we look at a box on our phone, our computer's a box, everything around us is a box, and we don't experience sacred geometry anymore the way that we used to. And so the power of the sacred geometry classes is that it activates sacred geometry symbols in your aura so that you start to experience everything as sacred geometry again. The power of this is that you now start to see everything as spiritual. Part of what's happened and why I think that humanity is so sick is because, we're in the corona chaos and, mental illness is such a big thing. I think it's because we've really forgotten that we are spiritual beings. When we look around, like I'm looking at this room right now and I'm looking at all my stuff, and I see statues and paintings and chairs and rugs, and is it just stuff or is it an expression of a spiritual energy? And when you work with sacred geometry, you start to see everything is magical and you start to actually awaken the magic and the power that lives inside of you. When we study on a mystery school path, we start to open and unlock our power and potential little by little by little. That's why the mystery school is a path. We don't just take one class and we're over with it. We want to keep going. We want to keep growing. Sacred geometry unlocks our mind to remember that we are multidimensional beings and that we are in fact creator beings. Too many people, what am I trying to say? Too many people believe that they're only capable of this much, or they think they're capable of this much energy, or that they are a pie and their life has to be split off into pieces, and my husband gets this much of my energy and my time, and my business gets this much energy and my time. And yet when you learn that you're a multidimensional being, you learn that there are as many pies as you want, and you can be 100% in all your pies. You can have a business, you can have 14 businesses if you want to. You can have relationships, you can travel. And when you work with sacred geometry, you unlock the ability to live multiple lives in one life. And you learn the keys to manifest with the spiritual energies, not just in the physical world. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That was a great explanation for sure. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the different sacred geometry classes and what someone could expect when they're attending the classes.
Sure. So, good question. Good. Was that a question? Good question. I'm tired. I'm a new mom. My brain doesn't work quite right. But um, so part of sacred geometry is numbers and the magic of numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the corresponding shapes that are created with these numbers. So 3 would be the triangle, 4 would be the square, 5 would be the pentagram, 6 would be the what's that word? Help me out here, Crystal. The six-sided one, the six-sided star. um, and you know, the New Age world kind of takes away the magic of true metaphysics, because you can't just read a book about sacred geometry and think you know it. You don't. You can't understand sacred geometry. In fact, you can't understand anything unless you're living it, unless it's part of who you are. So you can read cool books on sacred geometry, but until you're living it, you don't really understand it. So Sacred Geometry 1, which I know that you teach, this actually puts in the 3 primary geometries that God used to create in our aura. And now we start to live sacred geometry every minute of every day. And it's what's cool about these 3 shapes that get lit up in your aura is that they are a straight up channel to your higher self. So Sacred Geometry 1 is an excellent place to start. And just to see, can you handle holding that much energy? It doesn't seem like a lot. You know, I'm coming to this 4-hour class, but it actually unlocks a huge amount of energy in your aura. And this changes how you do everything. You know, in the mystery school, we're constantly reminded that we are God. And I know that word triggers some people, but I hope it doesn't trigger you. You know, God is this unlimited being, that's you. And if you kind of wear the hat that I'm a creator God, then everything around me becomes my playground. Everything in my life I created. Sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow, but it also gives you the power to change it. And if you accept that you're a creator God, then you can actually create anything that you want. And so that's Sacred Geometry 1. You also learn how to grid your home. And gridding your home is so important because it's your place of power. It's what protects you. It's what keeps you safe. It's where you contain your energy. And by learning how to grid your home, you unlock its healing power, and your home actually becomes this temple of light that you live in all the time. And it heals you, and it brings you to higher states of enlightenment. So Sacred Geometry 1 alone is huge. It's such a huge change. So auditing again and again and again, just taking that class over and over, it's going to help. It's going to help you bring it into your mind. It's going to help you live this way. Now, the higher levels of sacred geometry are now asking you, can you hold this next level of energy? So Sacred Geometry 2 is working with the power of crystals. Crystals are the most, probably the most complex form of sacred geometry in the physical world, and they hold huge amounts of power for healing. In Sacred Geometry 2, you learn how to do 9 different kinds of crystal healings, everything from emotional to mental to empowerment. You also learn how to do healings for old wounds, how to give your blessings to your clients. You learn how to do Akashic record readings for your clients, and you learn how to crystal grid your house, which amplifies the healing power of your home. Sacred Geometry 3, this class requires that you be an initiate in the mystery school. Now, these are very strong energies, so you need to be an initiate, have done the Empower Thyself class to take Sacred Geometry 3. In this class, you are working with the Egyptian gods and goddesses, and the Egyptian gods and goddesses really ask of you to live the most royal life possible. So the more you work with that energy, the more you're going to see your life change. You're going to treat yourself better. You're going to dress different. You're going to hold yourself differently, and you're going to expect other people to treat you better. And this is a really powerful healing for the aura. Sacred Geometry 4, you actually need to have gone to the Healers Academy in the Mystery School. This is how strong the energy is to hold this energy. Sacred Geometry 4 is about building powerful temples in your home to raise it to a much, much higher vibration and to allow more angels and beings of light to live in your home all the time. Angels can't live in this physical world. It's too dense a vibration. And so it's like a rubber ducky. When you take a rubber ducky and you hold it underwater, as soon as you let go of the rubber ducky, it pops right back up. And that's how angels are too. They can come in, but they have to leave right away. when you build these temples with sacred geometry 4, the vibration in your home becomes so high that these beings can live there for a much longer period of time. And sacred geometry 4 temples is what got me through COVID. They kept my vibration high, they kept me positive, they kept me in a place of service. I totally credit 2022 sacred geometry 4 grids. Sacred geometry 5, this is about, so this is the pentagram. There's so much beautiful teachings in here about the mind and how the mind works. And it's a healing for awakening fire inside of you. So awakening a flame of passion. This flame also burns away the blocks in your life. It strengthens your magnetic body, which is your ability to draw to you what you want. And it starts a process of awakening the Kundalini. And then sacred geometry 6, which is at this time today, this is the highest I can teach. Sacred geometry 6 is a really, really powerful healing for helping your clients overcome self-sabotage. And I think that alone is probably the, that class has more to it, but I think that's the most powerful thing that we get out of that class.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So this is incredible. It's like taking these sacred geometry classes isn't just about healing ourselves, but it's giving us the tools to really bring down the light and anchor the light around us and be able to do healings for other people. I feel like this is a really great step for someone who's wanting to transition into being a healer in their life and is wanting really powerful tools that they can apply both in their own lives and to clients, and to also use the power of sacred geometry to attract those perfect clients to them and to follow that path, that journey of a healer in their life. I think that's really beautiful. I love how you touched on auditing the classes as well, because I've taken sacred geometry 2 a couple of times, but every time I take it, it's like I get just to a whole other level with my ability to heal myself and healing others with that energy. So I'm really grateful to be able to take that class again.
Yeah, I'll give an example. Well, first of all, people live in the physical matrix, right? So any opportunity that you can be in this powerful temple, you should be there. Be there, take in the light, be around us, let us love you and support you and lift your vibration up, come, no matter what it is, come. But, pre having a baby, I could have heard moms talk about how tired you are and how much you love your child that you can't explain. And, you can hear all these things about motherhood, but until you're a mother, you just don't get it. You can't understand it until you're there. And so why auditing the classes is so powerful for your own progression is that when you take the class the first time, the energy starts to work on you and in your life, and you actually gain a higher perspective. And so when you take the class a second time or a third time, you're now seeing the teachings from a higher perspective. You understand them deeper, and you actually learn more the second time, the third time, the fourth time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exciting. So next time you
Yeah.
come, you're going to be teaching sacred geometry 2, and then we're going to be following up, going through the spring and summer months with the higher levels of sacred geometry. And the highest I've taken is SG3. So I'm super excited to step into 4, 5, and 6 this year. Pretty exciting.
I mean, the founder of the mystery school, like he has levels up to 13 ready to go. So as soon
Wow.
as COVID opens up, I'm hoping to get more training so we can bring you guys as much of levels as we can.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because it's, I know people out there are saying, I know I'm spiritual, I know I'm a spiritual being, but we've lived our whole lives with the awareness that we're physical. The physical body dies, the physical body ages, we live by these physical rules. And so it's one thing to say I'm spiritual, it's a totally different thing to actually start to learn, accept that as a truth, and then live that way. And the sacred geometries change the mind from thinking that I'm a physical being to I'm a spiritual being, and living your life like that, unlimited, that that you are an eternal being. And it starts to eradicate your fears. It'll start to give you tools to overcome anxieties and your mental blocks. I can't say enough about sacred geometry. It is everything. It's everything. It will benefit you no matter who you are, no matter what your goals are. Sacred geometry works.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was such a great explanation. And I'm really excited to host you here again and have you teaching these classes and bringing that energy here to Calgary. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on the show today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.